Hey everyone, this is Cameron from Renegade Animation on renegadepopculture.com. If you like what we do, please give us a like, a follow, and a rating on Apple Podcast. Make sure to share our episodes out because we are everywhere there are podcasts. If you can, consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/renegadepopculture. That way we can keep doing what we love, and that's talking about the wild, crazy world of animation. And now, on with the show.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Animation on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host this evening. Joining me, as always, is the animation guru himself, Cameron.
Howdy, howdy.
And we have a nice variety of movies and shows to talk about this time. We've got the second episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, Star Wars Tales of the Empire, and we've got Dragonkeeper, and finally the North American release of Mars Express. But first, let's go back into the candy-coated chaos that is the Amazing Digital Circus.
It's amazing how much people want Digital Circus. Within a span of a few days, 30 million plus viewers have checked in either multiple times or just are new and are sharing it out now. That is incredible. So, however you feel about the show itself, or the fact that content farms are abusing the popularity of the show and the creator's work by making a bunch of garbage, it's really nice to see some excitement for this, especially with such a weird and abstract show that is the Digital Circus series.
Oh, yeah. This episode in particular is, I can't really say it's like advancing the overall mystery that was established in the first episode. It is just a delightful romp.
It's such a wild ride. I honestly think I prefer this episode over the pilots. And that's because now everything is set and we can now start building up this world, the characters, and the mystery of what exactly is the Amazing Digital Circus. And we get that right now. Our ringmaster sends them off to a mix of Sugar Rush and Mad Max, and then mix in a little bit of someone having a morality crisis when, after their attempts to stop these gator bandits from taking the precious resource of maple syrup from the Candy Kingdom, our main character gets essentially with the leader of the gator bandits sucked into like a outside world of where the assets are made and placed that are used for this setting and scenario that the ringmaster has come up with. It's fantastic how this goes from pilot to second episode, where not a lot has changed about the tone of it. It's still very consistent. I very much love that. And the humor, while zany, is not as overbearing as some other indie series are with their comedy.
It's a lot more controlled chaos, but still very chaotic.
It's just a lot of fun, and I like the characters here where they're trying to just make sure the new kid on the block is welcome and that they're all there for each other, even if Jax is pretty much there for the chaos of it all, which I'm sure we're going to see more of. Like, that's probably a facade he puts on because he is deeply afraid of the world that he has been placed in. And everyone has talked about this. Let's just get it out of the way. The reference or homage to the Richard Williams directed Raggedy Ann film from the 80s or late 70s, early 80s. It's funny because that movie is not readily available to watch. You have to pretty much pirate it because it's stuck in some, from what I can tell, legal limbo of who's holding the rights to it. I think it's because two different companies own the rights to it. So,
That sounds like it's the reason why it's stuck in that limbo.
but the fact that they pseudo reference the gummy candy character from with this big chocolatey blob character in the second episode of Digital Circus. It's something new. It's not just referencing other things. Like I don't mind or hate references of pop culture, but I like it when there's untapped territory because the Raggedy Ann film from back then is really, really weird. And that's just underplaying it. There's an absurd dream logic nightmarescape with that film's logic and world that they craft all around these the most harmless dolls in history. The show paints itself as this like deranged, glitched out, cartoony CGI kid show that was like around the late 2000s, early 2010s with its CGI quality. I like that there's this smoothness to everything, this kind of dead stillness with it all.
Mm-hmm.
It just adds to the eerie atmosphere of what is this place? Why are we here? And I like the talk that the Gator Bandit leader and Poppy have with one another about feeling like you belong there, that you have a purpose. And it's just nice because I like these characters, I like their designs, but I'm not fully there yet with some of the cast members like Jax and such. They're getting there though. It's just they need to start building them up more, and they are. So I can't wait to see where they go with them. And I did love the whole punchline at the end. It's like, yeah, we saved the Candy Kingdom. Oh yeah, and by the way, there's a giant chocolate blob monster that y'all banished, but is now coming back. Okay, bye. Like you don't see anything the aftermath of that, and oh, I feel bad. But considering that the Ringmaster can just snap people into existence, hopefully they didn't suffer long.
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting like, oh, they're going to bring in new characters to live in this world of theirs, except for the Ringmaster being like, nope. If I can't tell an NPC from a human, who knows what's going to happen? It's a different kind of deranged pseudo antagonist with the Ringmaster character. He's doing what he's supposed to, but it feels like there's a layer of uncertainty and fear of exactly what he's bringing into this world that the characters have to deal with.
I'm looking forward to whenever they get to explore that a little further. There's got to be more underneath the surface that we just don't know about yet regarding Kane because he's such a fascinating individual.
I like that they toned down some of the other characters. Like King's the chess piece, right?
Kinger?
I liked that his sanity issue is played down in this episode. He's more supportive, just like the probably obvious Raggedy Ann ragdoll character, Ragatha. She's just there to be supportive of everyone and to keep everyone on the same level.
And then there's Gangle, who, for the second episode in a row, gets their comedy mask destroyed.
I want to see more of that character. I love her concept of like, oh, I'm wearing a mask to hide my true feelings or emotional state from everyone else. So every time it breaks, maybe I'm overthinking it, or maybe it's really obvious that it's some depression allegory of the internal struggle someone has that you don't see on the outside because they put up a face, a facade. Now I'm getting into like video essay territory. In these next 17 minutes, I will explain. No. So, really good episode. I love the polished, wacky CGI animation used for this show. It's very cool. I'm now very much on board with this show. And I hope the 30 million plus people who are checking out this show can also show that same support for the other pilots and indie series that are getting made. There's stuff always getting made. There's a lot of pilots right now in pre-production. There's the Naledi animated short film that's on Kickstarter that did reach its goal, but you should still send the support their way. And the Heathens indie pilots is going through funding right now. Like for right now, until there are systems put in place to help indie creators thrive and not have to struggle and worry about throwing all their savings into a pilot, hoping to get an ounce of the success that like has been Hotel, Hell of a Boss, Lackadaisy, and Digital Circus have gone. That needs to happen. Y'all need to go support these projects. You need to watch and share and discuss more of these. It's great that we have about like 4 or 5 indie series that are out right now getting made. The problem is a lot of those come from the same 2 creators or the same studios. I love indie animation. I want it to thrive, and I want viewers to be able to enjoy all these blossoming or upcoming or great indie series that are entering the world. But a lot needs to be done for indie to be viable.
Yeah. At the very least, what needs to happen is there has to be a better system to secure like a future for up and coming artists. I don't know what that looks like, especially in America, where we're very much like capitalist survival of the fittest kind of mentality. There just needs to be more awareness for a wider variety of creators who want to bring their visions to life.
Like another big problem with the current indie animation scene is that it's very much in 2 different spots right now. It's very much viewers are only watching shows that have similar vibes and types of characters. I'm not saying that Hell of a Boss, Murder Drones, and Digital Circus are all the same show. What I'm saying is they have distinct casts, characters, and tone that all share the same audience. And that same audience is not going towards other projects. I love Port by the Sea. I'm glad it did well for what it is and not, something where, oh, they had 10 years to build up a fan base. Like, indie animation could be viable in the future, but right now we're not setting up the foundation to make it so, because what's also going on is it's turning into the Nickelodeon SpongeBob thing.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are only letting a few be successful while everyone else struggles. Monkey Wrench's new episode is only going to have 10 full minutes of fully done animation because the creators came out and said, hey, we don't have the money to make another 30-minute episode with full animation. We're going to do an animatic storyboard kind of thing and use animation where it matters. Because the view numbers and merchandise sales were not bringing in the cash. Wouldn't it have been great to see episode 4 fully animated?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it'll still be great. It's Monkey Wrench. I love that series. But you can't just say, well, not everyone's going to succeed, but still want an indie animation to thrive. Because making an indie animation scene to be sustainable and thrive means you got to find a way for everyone to be able to succeed and not just 1 or 2 or it's the whole YouTube mentality. The YouTube algorithm wishes you were famous 10 years ago because it's not going to help you now. Good job for Digital Circus. I can't wait to see the next episode. Please go support indie animation and listen to these creatives and make sure to help them continue to make this stuff that you all love.
Well said.
Let's talk about the newest Star Wars sub-series of animated series with Star Wars Tales of the Empire. A I guess like a sister series to Tales of the Jedi, but following two different stories that revolve around the Empire. So, episode 4, 5, and 6 territory, which, you know, I love Star Wars. I love that original timeline as much as the next person. I really wish we could start letting people just do different timelines, do something in the like future or so far into the past of the lore and universe of Star Wars.
This is why I'm looking forward to The Acolyte, because it's the first live action series, or just series in general, that's set during the High Republic era, which is like 100+ years before the Phantom Menace.
That's great. That's what I want. So it's a little frustrating that we can't let go of the freaking past because people are so addicted to the past and nostalgia and whatever. But with all that said, I did like these two series of shorts. They're shorts. They're like at least 17 minutes long.
Yeah.
And there's only 6 of them. Where I don't think the first storyline is as good as the second one, where the first one is all about a young woman seeking revenge only to fall into the hands of the Empire through manipulation and other means. And the second one following a former Jedi turned Sith only to then reject her Sith lessons and philosophy to become a pacifist Force user. And I think that's because, again, with just like the Tales of the Jedi shorts, they're just too short.
Yeah.
Like, I love the idea of what we follow with Morgan Elsbeth from the first 3. And I get what they're doing. It's like she got brought into the Empire and then turned to the like full on dark side, where Barriss Offee, the one who fought the latter 3, got pushed and enrolled into the Empire through means and then rejected them to change her way and change the world her own way, while then having to deal with someone from her past. I wanted there to be more time because these feel so much more mature and more interested in telling a story compared to a lot of things aimed at families and kids.
Yeah. And
Like,
the biggest improvement between Tales of the Empire and Tales of the Jedi is Empire felt a lot more organized, where the two different stories kind of felt more consistent. I still think it has the same problem that you said. These stories are just too short. And the reason why that is a complaint is because they are still well written and well animated. The first episode, The Path of Fear, with General Grievous taking out like that village, that looked incredible.
the animation and the detail that goes into it, whatever it's a money thing or tech and time and talent put into these, is getting so much better because if you go back way back to I think 2007 with the original pilot movie for the Clone Wars CGI series, it's rough. Like,
Yeah,
not everyone could be Disney and Pixar or just Pixar and DreamWorks at that time, but it was rough, and it was never meant to be a movie. It was a movie to advertise the upcoming series. We talked about this last time with the Tales of the Jedi, where we were like, is it just me, or does this look way better than the original show?
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I even said then, like, we've come a long way since 2008, and that still remains to be true.
The detail I love the most is actually from the first episode, where you see Morgan grasp the ground and you see the dirt move around her, and not just like as one big blob of sand, but like individual pieces. It's like watching that Piper short from Pixar.
Yes.
And you see all the little details of sand. It's like someone took the time to make that dirt grains and bits and pieces and such. It wasn't just, oh, here's like a blob that someone threw together and such. The team and creatives are behind this. It's impressive that like the CGI looks really good. There are definitely some moments where people who get shot or killed fall a little too quickly to ragdoll physics, but everything else is getting so much better. And I love that. It's the tech is there and it looks wonderful in these 6 shorts. And the voice cast is good. I love that we get to see Grievous be imposing again.
Yes.
I'm like, maybe I'm showing my age, but I'm still not over the fact that the live action films essentially screwed over Grievous, because when Genndy Tartakovsky was in charge of those Clone Wars micro episodes, he introduced Grievous as someone who could be just as or more deadly than a Sith. Or now with what we know about the complicated history of the Jedi and the Sith, he was one of the deadliest people in the Star Wars universe.
And yet in Revenge of the Sith, he's taken out in like 2 seconds.
Exactly. It's so frustrating because Genndy was like, no, I want to keep making this guy great. But then, of course, the higher ups during Revenge of the Sith are like, yeah, but we want him to have a cop that he's weak and fragile. And it's just like, oh, really? We have to put that in? Because, I mean, that's what happens with the last micro episode from Genndy's series, where Mace Windu crushes his torso. That gives him the whole cough and wheeze of it all. And it's just like, oh. But I do love the second half of the Tales of the Empire shorts more. I like the story. I love how, like, yeah, Jedi had a really shoddy political viewpoint of how they ran things. But at least they weren't like, hey, here's your best friend. Kill him.
Yeah.
Like they had their way is not better. It's like it's that whole thing with like, yeah, we're Jedi are just as bad as us, but at least we're not killing our own people. And I love the ending of episode 4, 5, and 6 of this batch of shorts where the Sith Lord that our main character learned under is now going after her for pure revenge when Barriss Offee was like, you don't need to do this. You are fueled by rage, and that's not a way to live, and that doesn't help anything. And to prove her point, it's like, yeah, I'm going to let you kill me. It just shows where rage and anger takes you.
It's a great way to end this batch of shorts where the first 3 were pretty much going down the path of darkness, and the way out is, as the title suggests, these characters embracing the light.
Like that was the thing about like this era of Star Wars animation. They were tied down to, at first, to a family or kid audience, which, Star Wars was always like a franchise for kids and families. But then the more they were able to keep going with all the different seasons, the more they were able to actually build upon the characters in the world. Like, I'm still amazed that they let an episode happen where the clones' biggest threat was the fact that there was a Jedi who was racist against clone troopers, sending them out and setting them up for a fake battle just to dwindle their numbers. Like, you won't see that in the movies. Or at least, like, the creative teams on the shows are getting much more freedom than the movies were getting.
Part of the reason why is because the movies are too busy being like big events, but these series, they had more time to kind of explore deeper themes and really get into the weeds with these characters.
While it's not my favorite bit of Star Wars anthology stuff, I still think I prefer the Vision shorts just because they're not fully tied down to the movie continuity, so they could just do whatever they want.
I really hope we get a season 3 of Visions. That is some of the best Star Wars material out there.
I bet we will. They know that people love those. I still think my favorite is the first one from Visions 2 from, I think it was from Spain. The one that has that like a really wild painted look. It's called Sith. And it's about how like a former Sith is finding a peaceful life when her old master shows up. I find the Visions to be a more fruitful series, but I do like what I've seen of everything else. I haven't fully watched all of the Bad Batch, but I did like that story. And I know you have to watch the original one. And maybe someday we will just talk about the whole Clone Wars series, like talk about the micro series and then go into the CGI series and such.
That'll be a fun show if we ever get around to that one.
Maybe we should make that like a Patreon goal or something.
Good idea. That was Tales of the Empire. A nice little welcome treat for Star Wars Day this past weekend.
So now we get to talk about the movies for this episode. And so let's talk about Dragonkeeper. This film has been in production between China and Spain since 2017. And one of the directors, Salvador Simo, who was the director of one of my favorite movies, Bunwell and the Labyrinth of the Turtles, set in Han Imperial China. The plot follows the adventures of enslaved girl Ping with an ancient dragon, Long Danzi. Dragons have been banished from the kingdom. Ping, an orphan, finds one of the last remaining dragon eggs. Palace guards force Ping to run in order to return the dragon egg to the ocean and save all the dragons from extinction. I was looking forward to this because the concept art looked really cool, and like I said, I love Salvador Simo. It's just, well, Mike, would you say this feels like a first draft?
Yeah. I said in my review that this definitely feels like a dish that's undercooked. It has all the right ingredients. The story is really intriguing. Apparently, the book series by Carol Wilkinson is pretty popular enough for this to be like the first of 6 books total, but you wouldn't know that just by watching the movie.
The biggest problem with this is the fact that it introduces a lot of different concepts, and story elements, but they don't really go anywhere. Or if they do go somewhere, it's very generic storytelling. I like the idea of the main villain's drive is to become powerful and immortal through the help of either the magic or the chi from dragons or parts of dragons. But it's not very interesting. The characters are all very one-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be because this film has 6 different writers. Carol Wilkinson, Ignacio Ferraz, Rosana Sichi, Pablo Castrello, and Jianping Wang. It feels like nothing quite reaches to the top. It's another one of those animated movies where the story is kept moving and there's no real time for Ping and the dragon that she journeys with to fully bond with one another. Like, I find Ping to be a very annoying character, not unlikable, but she was very grating at first. And I get it. Her story is meant to be this coming of age. Like, I gotta be strong. I am a true dragon keeper. But getting there is not fun. I mean, you know what they say. It's like, getting there is half the fun. No, it's not.
Not this time.
Long Danzi is just a dragon. He's not very compelling as a character. I like Bill Nye, but he doesn't bring anything to this character who is just like, oh, I'm wise because I'm an old ancient dragon. Why is this film full of British voice cast?
Of all my criticisms of the movie, the one I have trouble explaining away is the baffling choice to hire like a bunch of British actors for a story set in China.
couldn't you have found like some like Chinese actors? Or it's not like their performances are bad, but it was very distracting to see characters who are from China, it's set in China, have these British accents to them. There's no real way to excuse that anymore. Or well,
No.
you shouldn't. And it just once again goes into the fact that these characters aren't interesting. The guard of the main villain, he's just whatever. He's just kind of like the stoic soldier who then redeems himself at the end and then who we never see again afterwards. And like the older Dragonkeeper is fine. I liked that the villain at first was the reason why he wanted Dragon Chi or whatever was to keep his, was it his mom or his like wife alive?
I think it's supposed to be his mother.
Like I like that it was a selfish but a personal reason. But then it becomes just I'm evil, I want to be immortal and all powerful and whatever.
If they didn't include that scene with his mother, nothing about his character would have changed.
Exactly. You could have taken that part out, cut it up Weinstein style, which is what they did with the little door gods, and nothing would have changed. But since they did add it there, it feels like a script change that happened like early on to be like, well, we can't have a sympathetic villain. We got to make him generic and boring. Generic and boring is how you describe this movie. The animation is fine. It apparently cost $25 million. And it looks fine for what it is. Some of the animation feels a little clunky. The designs aren't all appealing. But for what they could do, they did fine. I liked the more painted textures of like when they were out in the nature elements.
Oh, yeah, same.
And I like that the skin had a sort of painted feel to them without going full on Spider-Verse or the painting level of paint like texture and detail. But I kind of wish it did, because without that small touch of like the texture work for the colors, it looks like a generic animated film set in China, when films that are made in China have been getting so much better.
Just look at all of Light Chaser's back catalog. They have some of the most like gorgeous looking animated films that I think I've ever seen, really.
Like Deep Sea came out last year, and that looks 100 times better than a lot of stuff released elsewhere using CGI animation. So I don't know what happened here, except for the fact that a lot of people came out and said they were left out of the credits of this movie. And it's like, what do these companies gain? Apparently 60 people were left off the credits. And where do companies think like what's going to happen when people find out about this? It never looks good.
Nope.
It's so mind-boggling that it keeps happening. It's weird. I don't like it. It's just, I guess it's just because people don't raise too much of a stink about it. They keep getting away with it, but they shouldn't be getting away with it in the first place.
Exactly.
I thought the music was fine. Very generic.
It's just kind of generic fantasy music.
Like, you could do worse this year with animation. Like, I still think the worst one we watched is still the Megamind Rules, but that has its own situation of why it turned out like it did. And I know that Spain is slowly growing and improving their animation game, but their CGI films, unless I haven't yet seen something from there, are very forgettable. And this movie is very forgettable. I don't remember a lot of the names, the characters, the action, or just individual story beats. I even thought it was kind of funny how this big heartfelt moment of when Ping is trying to revive the dragon at the end. I was just like, I don't know. It's like I was kind of chuckling because it came off to me like someone found a ragdoll body in a video game and decided to glitch the system by letting it fly off into the air and see what happens. Like, did the dragon come back to life? Because it didn't look like it to me. There are story beats here that feel like they go nowhere. Or they were dropped in because they didn't want a sad ending. And like, why is Ping going back to that village?
Seriously.
Why go back there? What happens to the Emperor? Does he just die? Like, I guess I like this more than the Tiger's Apprentice, even though I feel like the Tiger's Apprentice had more personality. And at least it had arguably a better voice cast. But I don't know. I guess I would put them on the same level.
The more I think about it, I'm kind of right there with you. Like, the Tiger's Apprentice has strengths that this one doesn't. Both of them kind of let down their respective source materials, I would say equally as much.
I would argue that maybe, depending on the time of day, I would prefer Tiger's Apprentice over Dragonkeeper. But it really depends.
One thing that surprised me was when I saw this movie in theaters, granted it was one of the smaller screens, but still, a lot of families showed up. So I guess this means that people are starving for family entertainment.
Well, that's what happens when you don't release anything for an entire month. Now we're going to get like 5 animated films of varying audience goers, like in 1 month. And then the month after, we're going to have 2, at least for now, with like Inside Out 2 and Ultraman Rising. The industry is so bug nutty recently about animated features for families, because you could go, I think last year there was a span of 2 months where nothing got released. And it's like, wow, everyone's wondering why people aren't showing up to the theater. And when families don't have something to see, they're just going to not go or just stay home. Like, you're telling me Dragonkeeper couldn't have come out last month, or the SpongeBob movie that unfortunately got leaked couldn't have come out in April instead of waiting all the way into August?
And then it's shoved on Netflix.
There's a reason why Migration and Kung Fu Panda 4 were able to be successful and profitable, because they had nothing else. Like, I don't care that we're only getting like 1 more or 2 more superhero movies. Whatever. I don't care about that. That just means there's more variety of things to see, and you don't relegate it to just see the superhero stuff. For families, it's just like, give them something. We used to have a slew of family films, but now they're just getting relegated to live action Disney remakes or the occasional animated film. It's wild that now in this month we're about to get a few more animated films when family audiences are profitable. Go see them. Put more of them in theaters. Spread them out. I don't know. There's just not much to say about Dragonkeeper. I think it's fine. It's not really one of the best films or anything.
It just exists.
And I hope Viva Kids can start being smarter with what they bring over, because I feel like them having Viva Kids as the title is limiting them, because Deep Sea is probably the most mature thing that they have, and it's way better than most of their other films that they brought over. I'm hoping that they can keep getting better, like picking better movies and such, but understandably not everyone can be G Kids, where G Kids has first pick of the films of the year and be like, yeah, I want this one, this one, this one, and that one. Y'all can fight over for the rest. But sooner or later, you're going to have to pick better movies. But maybe since a lot of people are showing up to this one, people are liking it. And if people like this movie, I have nothing against that. I just want Viva Kids to pick better movies, or at least more interesting movies than just what normally Lionsgate picks out.
Yeah.
If it's for some reason still in theaters, give it a watch if you really want to, but there's no worries, or don't feel bad if you want to wait until it hits streaming, since the studio system has basically said you don't have to come to the theater. You can just wait until streaming happens, which is a shame because that's going to screw over one of the best animated films of the year so far, Mars Express. So, first of all, I saw this movie last year at Animation as Film. It was one of the official selection films for Annecy. And God, I wish there was a wider release for this movie because you have to see it on the big screen. It is so cool and amazing on the big screen to see a full-fledged animated sci-fi film that wasn't like aimed at families or was like Lightyear or anything like that. Just so pumped to finally talk about this with other people who are able to see it.
Yeah, as I kept saying on Twitter and other social media, if Mars Express is playing at your theater and you choose not to see it, I am going to start quietly judging you because this is, I would say, animated or otherwise, this will probably be in my top 5 or at least top 10 movies of the year. It's just that awesome.
The big problem is that I know audiences and animation fans want to see these movies, but there's like a lack of creative like curiosity to go see non-animated films from Japan. Like people will show up for animated films from Japan because of either their franchise films or they have a big name director behind them like Makoto Shinkai, Masaki Yuasa, Miyazaki, or The Colors Within coming out by Naoko Yamada. But you should take that curiosity and excitement for films like those and go see this, like the stuff from Europe that they're putting out here, like Mars Express, which was in development for quite a long time, maybe like 2017, 2018, and or maybe even as early as 2020. And go see these movies because there's more to this world of animation than just the US and Japan.
France has some of the most electric animation scene right now. So much variety in styles, in tone, in different genres. It's kind of insane.
I mean, let's get to it then. In the near future, private detective Aline Ruby and her android partner are hired by a wealthy businessman to track down a notorious hacker. On Mars, they descend deep into the underbelly of the planet's capital city, where they uncover a darker story of brain farms, corruption, and a missing girl who holds a secret about the robots that threaten to change the face of the universe. If you're a big fan of stuff like Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, this movie is literally up your alley. It's essentially French Ghost in the Shell. And I mean that as a good thing, not as like, they're ripping it off or whatever. Like, listen, I love that first movie of Ghost in the Shell, but that's pretty much the only thing I love from that franchise. And one of the things that I love about this movie is the fact that for a sci-fi movie that has like commentary about race, humans versus technology, sex, identity, freedom, among other things, it's a very human movie. It is shockingly funny at points. I think that's because even though it's a sci-fi movie, it is not one that is, how to describe this? It's a sci-fi movie with all these moral philosophical quandaries without feeling dull and cold or separated from everything else. Like I said, I love Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, but sometimes I'm just like, can y'all like emote a little or show some expression? Which is funny because Ghost in the Shell was originally way goofier. And then Mamoru Oshii got a hold of it and said, yeah, we're going to get rid of all the humor or a majority of the humor and make it about this kind of cold, sterile worldview that everyone has. And yet here in Mars Express, these are some of the most lively characters I've seen in a sci-fi police procedural.
These characters feel very Even the robot were like, I forget exactly what the line is. Like the hacker's like, "Are you hungry?" And he's like, no thanks, I'm a robot."
And or like I love like during that first part of the big case sequence when LEM, voiced by Billy Bob Thompson, falls out of the apartment building thanks to Carlos Rivera, and he falls into like the middle of a group of protesters who are protesting against machines. But he looks around and sees the dead robot in the background, and he says, "Dear friends, you may fuck yourselves," before getting just destroyed by the protesters, and then coming back. And then the hacker, played by Sarah Hollis, tells him, like, "Oh, by the way, this is Carlos. He killed you yesterday." And LEM is like, "Hello." Or like how annoyed and stubborn Aline Ruby, who's played great by Moria Gorondona.
This whole voice cast is amazing.
Yeah, we got Morla Gorondona, Kif Vanderhuvel, Josh Keaton, Sarah Hollis, Ben Diskin, Fiona Jones, Jeffney Zhang, Billy Bob Thompson. This has a really good voice cast. Like we got Neil Kaplan, Greg Choon, Sean Burgos, Stephanie Shea, Mara Junot, Alex McKenna, Andrew Frankel, Caitlin Elizabeth, Fiona Jones, Michael Center Nicholas, Mark Thompson, Daniel Walton, Jennifer Zhang. It's a really good voice cast. And they bring these characters to life more because they are more alive as characters. I know that's kind of hard to describe, but watch Ghost in the Shell and Blade Runner, and like the image you take away from that is like a disconnect from the world around them. Just cold, very distant. And here, Aline is like a New York beat cop from like the 80s, like a Midnight's Run kind of character.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
And then there's also like all these little passive aggressive moments with Carlos where like they're at that club and the guy's like, "Yeah, we have synthetics, but we also consider ourselves just as real and humans as you all do. Isn't that right?" And he looks at Carlos using an old, outdated robot look. And Carlos is just kind of like, "I'm holding back all my force to not punch you right now." Kind of look on his face. There's so much personality in this movie.
This actually does kind of feel like a movie from the 80s and 90s, not just because of the Blade Runner and Ghost of the Shell comparisons, but just feels like one of those grimy neo-noir that you'd watch on like VHS, that great neo-noir aesthetic. And the fact that this movie's only 88 minutes but still feels like a complete meal is also kind of a plus.
And it helps that it's not just I'm walking around, I'm wondering about my own humanity and morality. One of my favorite moments is when Carlos is updating his database, and it has that moment where it's like memory full or insufficient, update canceled. And he's just like, they force you to update, and every time I try, memory full. Oh, you're right there. And the detective is just like, you kind of came in like mid conversation, buddy. Or there's that moment where they're finding the robot that escaped because of the young girl who either hacked it so it could be free of its restraints, like that was found underground where, you know, the homeless live. There's a moment where you see just a background character just talk saying like about the now dead robot. That was his spot over there. Even if he was nuts, it was nice to have him. People, they just don't talk to each other anymore. So nice to talk to people, even if they're robots. Like, there's more humanity within its story. Really, the key to me that makes a good sci-fi story. I don't mind the high concepts or the philosophical quandaries that you want to talk about. Like, I loved Ex Machina, but Ex Machina still had moments where the characters were actually let to be characters, not just mopey people walking around. And the action in this movie, in Mars Express, is so good. Like, there's explosions, there's chase sequences, like gunfights. The sequence where they are stuck in the car because of the emergency protection foam.
That scene kind of had me on the edge of my seat. Well, while they're getting chased, they get like stuck in all the safety foam. It takes a while for the foam to like kind of wash off.
Yeah, and you're waiting because they're getting surrounded by people and they're just like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. And then Carlos is the first one to break open and to shoot all the bad guys. And it also does things like lets you into their worlds. You find out that our main character is an ex-alcoholic who then drops the limiter of, so she can drink because she's frustrated. There's Carlos, who is an ex who had his memory and data put into this robot. Or did they explain that his body is still in jail? I forgot.
I don't remember that part, but the fact that it seems like they were divorced before he got killed adds another layer of tragedy to his relationship.
Right. And they also just build into this world that you live in. And I felt so engrossed into this science fiction world. I never felt taken out of it. And I love, again, just little moments. Like when Carlos is talking to the robots, again, when you find out sex between the robots is just, connecting to one another and not, the actual physical process of sex. And just how they drop in these little things to think about where Carlos is like, yeah, I've thought about having sex with a robot, but I would like to do it with a woman. And the robot just changes his tone. Are you defined by your body? Like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
I know I keep gushing about that, just how this film is presented with a mix of amazing 2D and CGI animation. Or like the little moment at the beginning when Aline and Carlos are there to stop the hacker, Roberta Williams, caused something to happen to the connection between her and LEM to stagnate. And then they're like, okay, drop the glitch and then we'll talk. And the first thing you see Roberta do is like just making mouth noises. And then it's like, oh, you're back. And or like Ben Diskin as Simon Gordeau just shooting his shot with Aline. Or then Carlos coming to pick up Aline after she had a fling with the professor. And how like, okay, what if a human wants to have a romantic interest in robots, in machines? And then, of course, the whole thing that's always going to be there with these sci-fi stories, discrimination against robots.
That's just part and parcel.
The discrimination themes kind of go very layered. Like, I'm sure there's still racism. Then there's, of course, the rich against the homeless. And then there's humans against technology. To the point that, like, one of the big threats of the movie is this big organic tank thing, which is very inspired by Ghost in the Shell's third act conflict with the spider tank.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Just how instead of being like this big machine, it's so bio-organic mixed with machines, and it's so creepy. And of course, since this is a sci-fi story and thriller about what happens with when we take the limiters off of robots so they can be more self-aware. Like we see that when a few of the robots in a movie are like, wait a minute, what am I? Where am I? What are I have hands? Like they are able to live, but then are quickly shot down or destroyed by humans because they don't like the idea of robots having self-awareness. And of course, there are bad people involved, but of course, those bad people are working for, big mega corporation that only care about the bottom dollar and not humanity or what we can do with technology to make humanity better. Because again, one of the first things that we see is that interest in is that big bioorganic robot tank thing, which is so scary. If that thing came running at me, that would be horrifying. I would be more afraid of that thing than any of the robots you see here.
Same.
And like I already said, the animation is wonderful. Like it's a mix of 2D and CGI. And it never feels distracting that it's a mixture of both.
The way it's blended together is very seamless, and it looks especially cool with those action sequences.
It's a cool looking movie where, yes, people might complain that there's not a lot of detail on the character faces or whatever. Again, I think the whole love and support for Richard Williams has people taking the wrong lesson of, oh, so we have to have insanely detailed characters move fluidly on ones because that's the pinnacle of animation. And it's like, dude,
Mm-mm.
Richard Williams lost his Thief and the Cobbler project because he was too intricate with his animation there. It was taking flipping forever, man. I don't think people dislike the idea of straightforward designs, but I feel like there's always like this indication that like more detail means better. And it's like, no, just readable movements and appealing designs mean more than all these characters could have like 100 million strands of hair, all each painstakingly individually animated, but it wouldn't look as appealing as it does now.
It's kind of the same thing like with music. It's not always the case that more notes equals better. Sometimes simplicity is all you need.
It looks good. The action is well shot and choreographed, well executed. That first chase sequence is a lot of fun. I love the detail where Carlos can just shut his body off to act like a dead weight when capturing the hacker at first.
That is a cool detail.
And like, man, I know I do this from time to time, not to be flippant or try to get us to finish talking about this stuff, but I just love animation when I get to see stuff like this, or like some of the other moments, the side characters that are involved with the girl who is hacking these robots to become free and away with their limiters and such. Like, this is to me a movie that represents animation as cinema. And I want more animation fans to be adventurous to see films like this. And
Beyond animation fans, I just want more film fans to see this and just discover what animation can accomplish.
because honestly, this has been way better than like most of the sci-fi stuff I've seen in live action from the past decade or so. Like I said, I love stuff like Annihilation, Ex Machina, among other things, but this to me got me back into being like, hell yeah, sci-fi. Kind of like with Scavenger's Reign and such. It's just like something a little different. If it's true that like audience members are wanting to see something different, then they need to see something like this. Like, yeah, it might have to make you think a little, but that's not the worst thing in the world for a movie to do. Like, I'm sure a lot of people are going to, like, if more people saw this, they would have a discussion about the ending of the film where, spoilers from here on out, the detective dies. Everything basically gets cut off short because, you know, the people behind the corporations are still there, but the person that represented them is now dead, and all the robots leave Mars. It's like they upload their data while their bodies lay cold and dormant on the ground, as all the data and all their memories and lives are transported onto these ships that then fly off away from humanity because of how destructive humanity is to itself.
It's a very bittersweet ending, but that's exactly why I loved it and why it was very impactful.
It's a bittersweet ending, like a lot of sci-fi adventures out these days, but man, it's just a good movie. I don't mind dour stories or endings. It's just the execution of it is what gets me. And that's what I just love about this. It feels like a 2-hour movie that's actually just 85 minutes.
That's still impressive that they packed so much into this movie, but it never feels like story beats are rushed or you're not spending enough time with the characters. I think you spend exactly the amount of time that you need, both just to develop these characters as people and to advance the plot.
I just love this movie. It's my third favorite. I think I prefer Chicken for Linda and Sirocco and the Kingdoms of the Wind a little more, but all three of these films are in my top three so far. I do not see them leaving anytime soon.
Like I said up top, this is going to be probably in my top 5 or top 10 by the end of the year. It's just incredible. So I say this one more time. If this movie is playing in a theater near you and you choose not to see it, I won't be mad, but I will be disappointed.
There needs to be more support. And yes, that means G Kids has to be smarter to put this out in theaters. I luckily got a screener. And it's funny because I live in Austin. We have plenty of theaters, but the one they choose is 15 miles away from me. And I'm just not going to an entirely different part of Austin when I have two theaters within a mile of each other. It's just funny that they're choosing or making deals with all these theaters that are way inconvenient for people. It's like when Netflix does this, because Netflix sometimes will be like, oh yeah, we're giving these things as theatrical release. And it's like, how theatrical? Do you mean just New York and California? Or just some random theater in Texas? Because that's not enough anymore. And I get it. These things cost money. And of course, studios are going to be like, we want to buy 10 screenings or like 30 screenings for our new movie because screw you, we spent a lot of money on this and we want our investment back. But I want to see more of these films make it to more theaters, and I want more people to go see these movies. I mean, yeah, and it'll be great if you watch this digitally when it's there or on Blu-ray. But until then, if it's playing at a theater near you, go see it. But now, next time, well, we have a lot going on. We will be talking about the spring anime season. So we're going to be taking a week off so we can all watch all the chaotic nonsense that unfolds with this season. And then after that, we'll get back into talking more about the animated films that have come out, like Thelma the Unicorn, Garfield, and everything else.
We will also be talking about X-Men 97 once we hit the finale. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming in the horizon. But until then, Cameron, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Cam's Eye View. I have my own website called camseyeview.biz, where I review animated films and shows from around the world called The Other Side of Animation. I also have a Patreon at patreon.com/camseyeview. That's where you can find me.
And you guys can find me on various social media at Captain K42. You guys can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/Coach K42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and that place at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser. Consider supporting our Patreon at patreon.com/Renegade Pop Culture. Listen to all of our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Animation. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.